So you think monks were pure? Think nobles slept early? You think they were holy and harmless? Wrong. Medieval sex culture was chaotic, blunt, and off the rails. Modern apps look like youth group compared to what they logged, sold, and judged. You're about to wade through practices that make 50 Shades read like a naptime story. Aphrodisiac banquets with boiled animal parts. Public impotence hearings where men proved failure in front of clerks and matrons. Everything you assumed about dark times, burn it. They weren't dark for lack of sex. They were dark for what people did while having it. Start with bundling. Imagine you're a young man. Parents pick a bride candidate. Romance? Number. You get sewn into a sack and dropped in a bed beside a stranger. Bundling was a monitored sleepover with higher stakes and less dignity. Both fully dressed. Sometimes a thick board down the middle. Because nothing says get acquainted like timber between ribs. Here's the twist. Parents loved it. They invited suitors to stay the night bound up with their daughters. Called it safe. Called it sensible. Slept well while two kids lay inches apart. Wrapped, watched, and expected to behave. Thinking this was somehow a safe way to let young people get to know each other. Medieval parents saw chaperone dating and thought, needs restraints, needs shared breath. So they stitched special sacks, sold boards cut to torso length, an actual cottage industry built to keep hands apart while bodies warmed anyway. The logic snapped in half. And of course it backfired. Parish ledgers and midwives' notes hint the truth bundled pairs conceived more often than the couples who just walked and talked. Trap two teenagers under wool and wood, expect saints? Nature didn't sign that contract. No one should have been shocked, but everyone pretended to be. Priests ranted from pulpits, called it sin, called it near incest with a plank, but farms ignored them. Habit beats sermons. Try banning what every household swears is just tradition. Good luck. Food was worse. Love got plated in ways that would make a modern inspector faint. Not chocolate, not figs. Offal and nerve. Centerpiece ingredient? Testicles. Calf. Ram. Boar. Youth preferred more strength. They labeled them stones to keep the blush off the tongue, then diced, poached, powdered, stirred into wine. If it could be done to a gonad, someone wrote it down. And testicles were only the first course. Sparrow brains for stamina because devouring a frantic little heart was supposed to transfer spark. Uterus stew. Cockcomb jelly. Eat fertility to earn fertility. That was the creed. That was the table. And nobody pushed the plate away. Sympathy magic, just with more organs on the plate. The spice ships? Not chasing flavor. Chasing desire. Pepper, ginger, cinnamon, saffron. All edible urgency. Worth gold because people swore they worked. Lords hosted love feasts. Every dish built to raise heat. Wedding night spreads looked like lab notes. Organ bowls, minced brains, honey-thick sauces, pine nuts, almond paste. Not for taste, for thrust. Physicians backed it. Not rumor, texts. On the making of seed. Foods that increase lust. Measured, timed, tested medieval style. Copied by scholars, studied like scripture. Goal, hotter beds, stronger airs. Fasting rules banned ingredients. Not for health, for holiness. 2. Stirring for souls meant to pray, not play. Awkward when parents meet your partner. Try nobles watching you consummate. Bedding ceremonies. Privacy off the table if land was on the contract. No consummation, no marriage. So they watched. Vows done. Procession starts. Bride one side, groom the other. Relatives undress them. Gender sorted. Tradition, not tenderness. Into bed. Curtains open. High ranks. Clergy. Family. They don't peek and leave. They stay. They offered tips. They wait for proof. And then, it gets worse. In some houses, they didn't just peek. They checked the sheets. Blood meant virgin. Stains meant done. You held linen like evidence. A row of relatives stared like judges. It was a trial. And yes, it counted. Not only kings. Any marriage with land, coin, or power on the line could demand eyes in the room. Thousands of couples. One bed. An audience. Some tried to cheat. Door shut. Witnesses outside. Courts tossed it out. Do it again. Properly watched. It's in the records. It got so normal they wrote manuals. Where to stand. What to say. How long to stay. Voyeurism wasn't a kink. It was etiquette. Aristocrats didn't feel the moment. They booked it. Astrologers, priests, physicians. Sex scheduled like a board meeting. Miss the window? Wait for the next moon. The stars mattered, or so they swore. Waxing moon. Right planet. Woman hot in her humors. Conceive on a saint's feast for extra blessing. 3 calendars open. 1 bed waiting. Time of night? Midnight. Weather? Warm. Humid. Bed facing east toward the rising sun. Forget a step and you risk the result. A siege took less planning. Want a boy? Tie off the left testicle. They said boys came from the right, girls from the left. Painful, wrong, confidently done anyway. Then the church laid its minefield. No sex on Sundays. No sex on Wednesdays. No sex on Fridays. Not in Lent. Not in Advent. Not during her bleeding. Not while she carried. Not while she nursed. Add 100 holy days more. Find a free square on that calendar. Hope it isn't raining. Hope your humors agree. Hope no one knocks. Rich folks didn't hire one doctor. They hired teams. One guy read the stars. A parish priest tracked the sin count. A healer checked the hot-cold balance. Together they built a schedule. When to meet. Which hour. Which day. Which place. A custom conception calendar. Birth charts were pulled. Old fevers recorded. Fasts, feast days, holy days aligned. Felt like an app just heavy on superstition, light on science. The pressure was absurd. Miss the window? Pack your bags. They'd travel hundreds of miles just to try on the right soil. Air, dirt, latitude, everything improved baby odds in their minds. Clothes got weirder. Underwear equals relic. Priest plus physician plus astrologer had to approve. Then you wore it. The Girdle of Venus wasn't just a name. Silk or linen belt. Prayers stitched in. Star symbols drawn. Mantras sewn tight. Job. More fertility. Safer birth. Better performance. Women wore amulets. Powdered unicorn horn, actually narwhal. Gemstone dust. Folded verses. As if God needed sticky notes. Strangest of all? The conception stone. Tiny rock. Slipped into underwear. Stayed there during sex. Emerald equals boy. Sapphire equals girl. Diamond equals twins. Genetics by jewelry. Full faith, 0 biology. Men got props too. Ring specific fingers only. Amulets with animal parts. Blessed loincloths promising performance boost. The church launched a subscription model. Bless this belt, Father. Fee applies, my child. Sheets, cords, charms, everything got a holy stamp. Some gear was so complex it came with manuals. How to wear it. Which prayer to say. How to reset if it failed. Customer support for magic underwear. Top-tier belts. Chinese silk. Gold thread. Gem inlay. Only nobles could afford them. Poor folks used local cloth, cheap beads. Class divide by crotch gear. Faith ran so deep some women refused sex without the belt. Some men refused partners who weren't properly dressed. Dress code before bed code. Now imagine how insulting modern divorces really feel. So you think divorce court is brutal. Pause. Try proving you can't perform in front of strangers. Timed. Medieval impotence trials were the escape hatch. The church blocked divorce. A wife had one option. Say he was impotent. But saying it wasn't enough. She had to prove it. He had to fail. Officially. First step, separate exams. Doctors, real ones and quacks, checked everything. Prodding, measuring, writing notes. Any scar, any coldness, any bend the wrong way? They logged it all. Next, interrogation. How often did you try? What position? Did he enter? How long until he lost it? Did anything spill? Answer, under oath. Still unclear? Then came trial by Congress. Yes, that was the name. Cordia ordered intercourse. supervised. A rented room, or a chamber at court. Peepholes, curtains, officials behind screens. A clerk with a sandglass. Begin. No privacy, no mercy. He had a set window to rise, enter, finish. If he didn't, annulment. Contract torn, marriage erased. Men tried to cheat. Herb pastes, ground antlers, boar bile. Hidden under tunics, smuggled in sleeves. Guards searched mouths, groins, even hair. Caught? More shame, more notes in the record. These trials dragged. Weeks, months, sometimes years. Multiple attempts demanded. Different days, different witnesses. Judges loved certainty. Women paid too. She had to prove she was willing, able, warm. Midwives inspected. Clergy asked if she lifted her hips, if she felt heat. If he failed, maybe it was her fault. Not pretty, not eager, not cooperative. Blame shoved anywhere. Afterward, everyone knew. Taverns snickered. Markets whispered. Win or lose, names stuck. Some husbands signed the annulment right away. Better impotent on parchment than naked in court. Pause. Now the twist. The church didn't just tolerate prostitution. It profited, owned it, scaled it. 12th century London, Southwark. 18 licensed brothels. Over 1,000 women working. Landlord? The Bishop of Winchester. Logic was simple, if rotten. Better men pay for sex, they said, than rape, commit adultery, or lie with men. So they managed sin. Collected rent. Set rules. Took cuts. Canon law banned fornication. Canon law didn't ban rent. So bishops collected. Priests winked. Money flowed. Bodies turned. Souls saved. Necessary evil, they called it. Public virtue. Private ledgers. That was medieval morality. Your sin, their silver. Your body, their balance sheet. Pause. End of story? Not really. Because behind every locked door, every courtroom bed, every rented room in Southwark, someone was watching. Someone was counting. And someone, finally, spoke. Medieval brothels didn't run wild. They ran on rules, church rules. Uniforms on, specific hours, specific streets. No holy day work. No, not tonight without a reason. Mandatory checks by physicians. Mandatory fines if you missed one. Money climbed a ladder. She paid the keeper. The keeper paid the landlord. The landlord paid the bishop. Top rung, mitres and rings. Bottom rung, bruised hands and empty pockets. A sanctified pyramid scheme. And the profits, hymns and incense. Stone for new chapels, bread for monks, fireworks for saints' days. Salvation, sponsored by sin. When reformers pushed back, the walls held. Too much gold in the rafters. Too many ledgers balanced on her back. Morals lost to margins. It took centuries to crack. Protestants shouting, cities shifting, masks slipping. Only then did the racket fold. For hundreds of years, God's office ran a business the mob would envy. Now the other side, prevention. Medieval birth control was a dare. Risky, nasty, useless. Start with the usual fetish testicles. Weasel stones in a pouch around the neck. Logic. They made a lot, but birth few. Wear the parts, steal the trick. Necklaces of denial. Then potions. Anything on a shelf or in a field. Beaver testicles ground into wine. Powdered iron in water. Mercury, yes, mercury down the throat. Some cures killed the problem by killing the woman. Technically effective, horrifically final. Doctors swore by sneezing. Sex. Then pepper. Then a violent aku. Seed out, baby gone. They carried spice like a shield. Biology laughed. Barriers? If you can stuff it, try it. Honey-soaked wool. Sticky, sweet, and useless. Crocodile dung. Imported filth. Packed tight. Half a lemon pressed in like a cap. Acid helped a little. Comfort helped none. No license, no safety, just hope and sting. That was the toolbox. Stones, poisons, pepper, dung, citrus. A war with no science. A body used as a battleground. And still, they tried. Because choice was scarce. Because risk felt smaller than another mouth. Because silence cost more than pain. They timed sex with bad science. Doctors swore women were most fertile while bleeding. Least fertile mid-cycle. Backwards. So couples avoiding babies picked the exact days that guaranteed one. Charms handled the rest. Parchment squares with Latin lines. Stones sewn into hems. Herbs burned at midnight. Objects buried under a full moon. Walk backwards around a church 3 times, murmur prayers in reverse order. As if God needed a checklist to block conception. Withdrawal existed. But every manual warned men it would rot the brain, blind the eyes, even kill outright. The only thing that worked was labeled lethal. This was a culture that put teens in bed with planks between them, that let bishops lease brothels while preaching purity. That made sex a court exhibit, a contract clause, a public test. Call it madness. Or call it pattern. Give people fear and pressure and they'll grab anything. Testicle pendants. Honeyed wool. Pepper sneezes. Priest to blessed belts. Rituals done in secret. Trials done in public. They weren't clueless because they were medieval. They were desperate because they were human. And desperation will always dress itself in whatever promises control, even if the promise is carved on stone, stitched in underwear, or whispered while walking backwards in the dark.